Welcome to the latest episode of the B Movie Club. I'm your host, Kevin. This will be discussing the 1984 action-adventure classic, Romancing the Stone, starring Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito. For those of you joining us for the first time, each week in the B Movie Club we discuss certain guilty pleasures and forgotten classics. You can go ahead and follow us on our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the big thumbs up. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. That's Kevin D. That's me. It's totally free. And you can also follow me on Twitter at the B Movie Club. Don't forget to spread the word to all friends, family, members, strangers on the street, enemies, whoever you'd like to tell. Thank you very much. Romancing the Stone. In this movie, Joan Wilder is a famous kind of romance, action, adventure novelist. The kind of books that you see the ladies reading on the beaches during the summer. Those are the books she writes. Well, there's some issue with her sister. You see, her brother-in-law was murdered in Colombia. But not before he sent a special package to Joan in New York. Joan opens it up. It's some sort of treasure map of some sort. Unfortunately, there are people hot on her trail to get that map, including the shadowy figure with like a knife who's like getting people in New York. So it happens in New York. What can I tell you? But here's the thing. Now her sister's been kidnapped. She says if they don't bring her the map, they'll kill the sister. So even though Joan is kind of a shut-in, if you will, she's a hypochondriac. You know, they say that she gets violently ill on the escalator of Bloomingdale's. She's got to do it. She's got to fly off to Colombia, which, as we all know, no offense, Colombia, is a dangerous place to be in. It's almost as bad as Detroit, they say. So she flies in. Of course, she gets on the wrong bus to Cartagena. She goes to a totally different place. So she's got little old Danny DeVito, who's working with the kidnappers, trying to get her to bring the map, but there's another, like I said, the shadowy guy with the knife. Evidently, he is another evil character, not affiliated with the kidnappers, who murdered the brother-in-law. So he's after the map for his own diabolical reasons. So after driving off in the bus to the middle of the jungle, there's a car accident, which tends to happen in the middle of the jungle. She gets stranded, and the evil guy with the knife is starting to come at her, pulls out a gun, tries to force her to give up the bag. Meanwhile, here appears this adventurer type, this soldier of fortune, bounds out of the jungle and with his shotgun scares off the scary guy. He runs off into the jungle. We discover this guy's name is Jack Colton. He is a bird collector, evidently. I don't know what you call them. And here's the big question. He goes into the jungle of Colombia to capture birds to sell, I guess, to people who buy birds. I don't know, zoos or pet stores. I don't know. But how does he get the birds? He doesn't have a net or anything, right? You don't see him like going around with a net, I'm going to get these birds. He has a shotgun. I'm assuming he's not shooting the birds out of the air. That would be counterproductive. Anyway, he's there. We discover he's kind of a sleazy character as well. He proclaims, I'm always after the shortcut, the easy money. He has a dream of getting enough cash together to buy a boat so he can sail around the world. So, because Joan Wilder is stranded in the jungle, he agrees that he'll lead her to a telephone, essentially for every nickel she has left on her person. He's a real hero, this guy. Meanwhile, The shadowy figure with the knife and the gun reappears. We discover he is actually not just a shadowy guy with a knife and a gun. He's actually the head of the Colombian secret police. He's a dangerous guy, obviously. He's got an army behind him. So Jack and Joan are traipsing through the jungle trying to get to Cartagena to give the map to the kidnappers, who again, there's kidnappers and then there's like killers. The killers are the evil Colombian guys who work for the secret police. The kidnappers are kind of these burglar, smuggler types with Danny DeVito and his cousin Ira, who are from Queens. It's all very complicated. So, you have all these people kind of chasing them. I don't want to spoil everything. I don't want to give everything away. This movie was based on a script written by a waitress named Diane Thomas in 1979. And one day, Michael Douglas, who at this time was a famous, he produced a lot of movies. He was in like The China Syndrome. He was most famous for The Streets of San Francisco, that cop show in the late 60s. She goes and she pitches her script to him, and he liked it so much, he bought the script from her. And they proceeded to go about trying to cast the parts. Michael Douglas cast himself as Jack Colton, as the swashbuckling jungle guy. Kathleen Turner was cast as Joan Wilder, and it's funny because at this point Kathleen Turner had played kind of these femme fatale types, kind of body heat characters, where Joan Wilder is, like I said, she's kind of a shut-in and hypochondriac and kind of, whining. Over the course of the movie, there's a rapid transformation of the character, so there's growth, you see. Robert Zemeckis was kind of a relatively unknown director. He was brought in to direct it. And what's interesting is that initial reports was that the movie was going to be such a bomb that Robert Zemeckis was fired off his next movie. The next movie he was going to direct was Cocoon, which we all know is that famous Steve Guttenberg vehicle about aliens coming down in giant pods and making old people dance, something like that. So he was fired from that one. But as we know, Romancing the Stone became a huge hit, and he was able to go off and complete his passion project, which we all know, Back to the Future. See, it all works out for everybody. When this movie first came out, people thought it was a blatant ripoff of Raiders of the Lost Ark. But again, the script was actually written before Raiders of the Lost Ark came out. And if you watch it, it really, it's obviously people searching for lost treasure, which is obviously a parallel. But Raiders takes place 99% in the desert. It's a period piece where there's Nazis chasing them, and it's kind of over-the-top action and adventure and blah, 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 blah. Romancing the Stone, it takes place modern day. It's mostly in the jungle, and it really is much more of kind of a buddy kind of movie where two kind of mismatched characters are thrown together in bizarre circumstances, and then a romance develops. That sort of thing. Clearly two totally different things. When it came out, like I said, huge success. People really appreciated it. Some people made those comparisons, but it was able to stand up on its own, good things. And it actually established Michael Douglas as like a real leading man. Crazily enough, Jack Colton, the character, throughout the movie, he's really kind of a sleazebag. We're supposed to be rooting for this guy. Again, he'll only lead Joan to the telephone to the nearby city if she gives him all the money. When he finds out about the treasure map, he's constantly trying to steal the map from her, even though she says if she doesn't bring the map, her sister will be killed. He's like, oh yeah, honey, we need to go get that treasure ourselves, you know what I'm saying? And as she's chopping through the jungle with the machete, he's behind her, like, leering at her and licking his lips, going, basically setting the stage for his movies Fatal Attraction, for Basic Instinct, and of course Disclosure. All the crazy sex movies he did later along the line. So, what are you gonna do? Kathleen Turner and Robert Zemeckis had some friction while they were working on this. Evidently, Kathleen Turner liked to act a certain way, Robert Zemeckis liked to direct a certain way, and they kind of had issues. But Robert Zemeckis did hire her again, playing the voice of Jessica Rabbit in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So, again, it all worked out. They wound up making a sequel to this movie called Jewel of the Nile. And here's kind of the sad thing. Diane Thomas, who wrote the script, which became, a big success, she was paid a lot of money for it, and Michael Douglas, in appreciation for her, bought her a sports car. And one night, her drunken boyfriend was driving this car and crashed it, and she was killed. So this is the only script she ever wrote. She had started working on a little bit of Jewel of the Nile. They actually brought her in to actually write a sequel to Raiders of the Lost Ark, ironically. And Steven Spielberg also had her working on another script for a movie which would eventually become Always, with Richard Dreyfuss and Holly Hunter. So she had a lot of things going on. But tragically, car accident. What are you going to do? Very sad. They did make Jewel of the Nile. Not a very good movie. Kind of the pits, if you ask me. They were supposed to make a third one, but Jewel of the Nile did poorly. Or at least critically panned. I think it did all right financially, but critics hated it. So they wound up, forgetting the idea of doing a third one. Although, Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito were reunited in the Danny DeVito-directed War of the Roses, which had nothing to do with the other movies, sadly, or perhaps happily. I don't know. So there you have it. Romancing the Stone. Here's something interesting. I had no idea. I thought the title was a horrible title. I mean, what does this even mean? Okay, they're romancing the stone. I said, I don't know if this is prison lingo. I don't know what it means. Evidently, and I looked this up, romancing the stone is what jewelers do when they kind of, sculpt a jewel to fit a certain shape or whatever. They call that, I'm romancing the stone. I'm romancing it. I guess you can't just say carving it or something. I don't know. So there you have it. That's what romancing the stone means. Again, this movie's not about the fine art of becoming a jewelry worker, jewelrist. What do they call a person who works on jewelry? Jeweler? Jeweler. That works. So there you have it. It currently has an 87% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes, so you know it's good. Again, not typically a B movie. This was a big Hollywood blockbuster type. But in my mind, any movie that kind of deals with kind of adventure or over the top, we're looking for buried treasure, I'm going to lump it in with those other B movies. I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend it. If for some reason you have not seen it, check it out. It has action. It's got romance. It's got a lot of comedy. There's one scene where Danny DeVito goes like, I'm stealing this stone. I'm not trying to romance it out from under her. Problem is, Danny DeVito hasn't been hanging out with him the entire movie. How does he possibly know what Michael Douglas is up to? I don't know. Maybe he's been watching the movie with the rest of us. So there you have it. Next week, I'm going to be leaving the action-adventure genre to the 1977 horror classic, The Hills Have Eyes. We've all been looking forward to this one. Sadly, at the moment, it is not streaming live on Netflix, so you'll have to go to your local video store. Haha, what's that? I don't know. Find a copy somewhere. Borrow it from a buddy. Watch it. Check it out. Send me in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, questions about The Hills Have Eyes, starring Dee Wallace is actually in this, directed by Wes Craven. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Of course, go to our page on Facebook, Original B Movie Club. Give us the thumbs up. Our page on YouTube. Subscribe. It's totally free. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at The B Movie Club. As you know, I end every episode with a totally out of context quote. And here it is. Odio or Americanos, I spit on them. I hate the Americanos. They're scummo. Thank you. That is crazy Danny DeVito doing his horrible Spanish accent. And, they're in Colombia. You can't pick up a phrase book, something? Anyway, thank you for joining us. Next week, The Hills Have Eyes. Be well.